U.S. and Canadian authorities always knew the whereabouts of my husband since his arrival in Canada in 1974. This is substantiated by court documents. A letter was written by Terrence Knox, who was an investigator with the Intelligence Division at the time. This letter was dated August the 1st, 1974, and was sent to Canadian Immigration Centre in Montreal, giving them Gary's Montreal address. Newspaper articles quote an FBI agent saying that as far back as 1977, Chicago police developed information indicating that Gary was residing in Montreal. In 1983, we purchased a camera in the States and we did something really stupid. We didn't claim it at the border. We got caught. Gary was fingerprinted by the RCMP, and we had to return to the courts to pay a $300 fine. We didn't move, we didn't change our phone number. We paid the fine, yet no one came to arrest Gary. At the extradition hearing, our defense team requested an inquiry into the reliability and availability of evidence in this case. They sought to cross-examine Terrence Knox, the police officer, on his widely divergent accounts of the incident, and they sought to cross-examine the assistant state's attorney as to why the victim impact statement was relied upon for Gary's original arrest and bail hearings, but was removed and never referred to and replaced with a different account of the incident. But the judge said that an assessment of the reliability of the evidence lies beyond the reach of an extradition judge, that the role of an extradition judge is not to weigh the evidence. In fact, a 1999 decision made by Manitoba Queen's Bench Justice Steele stated the following. Please listen really carefully to what I'm going to read to you. Evidence at an extradition hearing should be accepted even if it's manifestly unreliable, incomplete, false, misleading, contradictory of other evidence, or the judge feels the witness may have perjured themselves. I would never, ever have believed that any legal proceeding in Canada would accept hearsay, false, and unreliable evidence. Is extradition just formal rendition? Does their obligation to their treaty partner trump all human rights? Many of you probably know Fred Hampton was the leader of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panthers. He was murdered by the police on December the 4th, 1969, while he was sleeping beside his pregnant wife. Last year, the Fraternal Order of Police in Chicago objected to the community renaming a street to the Hampton Way, honoring Fred Hampton. The Chicago Police Department wrote letters to 50 aldermen opposing to honor any gang members. They referred to Gary Freeman in this letter, stating that he is a Black Panther who also attempted to kill one of their police officers, and that they are seeking his extradition to Chicago from Canada. This is on their website. They have marked him a guilty man. Can my husband have a fair trial in that city? We have all heard about the tortures at Guantanamo Bay, but how many of you have heard about the torture in homeland Chicago? I don't recall the Toronto papers covering this story. Last year, a special prosecutor's report known as the Verge Report was released, taking 4 years to investigate and costing $7 million. It confirmed Chicago police tortured and brutalized African American men for more than 20 years. Yet, despite the confirmation by internal investigators of horrific atrocities committed against African American men, None of the police responsible for hundreds of acts of torture will face prosecution for using illegal techniques like electric shocks to the genitals, ears, and lips with a cattle prod or an electric shock box, Russian roulette, beatings with a rubber hose, suffocation, and mock executions. Prosecutors claim these crimes against humanity cannot be prosecuted because the cases are too old and statute of limitations have expired. This happened through the 70s, the 80s, and into the 90s. It's the same Cook County jail where my husband was incarcerated, the same Cook County jail that they want to bring him back to. There was only one firing in 1993 with full pension benefits, and some of the police officers involved have even been promoted and are still with the same Chicago Police Department. Yet, Chicago seeks the extradition of my husband, who is a victim of racial and political persecution for an incident which took place in this same South Side district of Chicago. My husband has been incarcerated at the Don Jail for 3 years. We are only able to see him twice a week for a 20-minute visit. We can't touch him, we can't hug him, or hear his voice, except by telephone. Plastic separates us. Only 2 people are able to visit, so our 4 children are only to see him every other weekend. This is remand in Canada. We do not believe that the best interest of justice would be served by uprooting my husband from his family and returning him to an unjust fate in the United States. Please, I'm asking all of you, please help us keep our family together. My husband is innocent. One cannot be a fugitive from racial injustice. Escaping racial injustice is not a criminal act. It is an act of survival. We have a petition in the back of the room at our table, and the petition is requesting the current minister to rescind the decision made by his predecessor, the former minister, Justice Dictates, and to refuse to surrender him to the United States. The appeal and judicial review has been scheduled for September the 13th. It'll be at Osgood Hall, and anyone that would like to be there to show your support would be greatly appreciated. We have a website, it's www.freemandraw.org, and we have flyers in the back of the room with our website address as well as a little bit of information. So I thank you all for your wonderful support and your kindness during our very, very difficult, now past 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you.